Imagine screaming that solar panels are ugly land destroyers while cheering for oil fields that turned West Texas into a toxic moonscape you can see from space. Imagine calling wind turbines eyesores while defending the tar sands that have wiped out hundreds of square miles of forest and left poisonous lakes big enough to kill ducks on contact. That's not an exaggeration. That's the fossil fuel playbook in action. Today, I want to expose that duplicity, the miles of real environmental hatred that they defend, and the simple, easy to implement solutions they ignore. Welcome back to Jim's EV Adventures. Today, we're flying straight into the heart of the fossil fuel energy lies and the voices that dominate social media. The same voices who call solar and wind ugly and insist oil and coal are good, reliable, beautiful American energy. You know, the drill baby drill crowd. We're going to show you the satellite scars in the Permian Basin and Canada's oil sands that prove the opposite. Then we'll flip the script. Renewables have a tiny footprint, and we can generate 100% of America's future electricity by simply paneling up the parking lots we've already paved. If you want to see a video about that I did recently, it's popping up on the screen right over here somewhere, and the link will also be in the description below. The bottom line is we can solve this problem now. No new wilderness needed, no ruined views, no poisonous lakes, no moonscapes in West Texas, just smart engineering on land that we've already ruined for cars. So, buckle up. The oil hypocrisy ends right now. Today, we're exposing the loud voices who scream at the top of their lungs every single day that solar panels and wind turbines are nothing but ugly, land-destroying monstrosities that are ruining America's beautiful landscapes and open spaces. At the same time, these voices turn right around and insist with a straight face that oil, coal, and gas are good. They're the reliable, beautiful American energy sources that we must protect and expand at all costs, no matter what the damage is. You know the people that I'm talking about. You see them on social media and the news all the time. These are the same pundits: Alex Epstein, Mark P. Mills, Sarah Palin, Donald Trump, Bjorn Lomborg, Patrick Brown, Steve Koonin, etc. And the same politicians and the same industry shills who constantly cheerlead fossil fuels as our economic savior, our national security blanket, and our only realistic path forward into the future. But when you look at the cold, hard satellite evidence from space, the picture is completely different. What you actually see is mile after mile after mile of permanent environmental hatred already carved deep into the planet for everyone to see from orbit. We're talking about earthquakes that never existed before the fracking wastewater boom started. We're talking about poisoned rivers and groundwater supplies. We're talking about dead livestock on family ranches. We're talking about scars on the land that will still be bleeding and causing problems long after every single one of us is gone and our kids have all grown up. So in this episode, we're going to fly over that destruction in the Permian Basin of West Texas and in Canada's oil sands so you can see the horrifying reality with your own eyes. Then we're going to flip the script completely and show you the actual tiny footprint that wind and solar occupy today. And finally, we're going to deliver the knockout punch that destroys every argument they have left. We do not need to touch a single acre of pristine wilderness or productive farmland anywhere in this country. Like I said earlier, we can simply panel up the parking lots we've already paved decades ago and generate 100% of America's future electricity needs. No new land gets destroyed. No scenic views get ruined. No toxic legacy gets left behind for our children and grandchildren. Just smart, practical engineering on ground we've already covered for parking lots. This is the real environmental story the fossil fuel cheerleaders hope you never hear and never see with your own eyes. So buckle up, turn up the volume, and let's fly over the evidence right now. It's going to make your blood boil. The first stop on our tour of fossil fuel reality is the Permian Basin, stretching across West Texas into southeastern New Mexico. This is an area of 86,000 square miles that for generations was wide open ranch land, desert, and rolling plains where families raised cattle, grew crops, and lived off the land in relative peace. Today from satellite, it looks like an absolute industrial horror show. An endless, soul-crushing grid of well pads jammed so close together you can barely see the original ground in many places. Pipelines are snaking in every direction like giant steel spiderwebs covering the landscape. Access roads carving up the fragile desert soil into a patchwork of total destruction. And gas flares burning nonstop 24 hours, 7 days a week, creating a dirty orange artificial city that lights up the night sky, looking like something straight out of a dystopian movie. NASA satellites, along with the Environmental Defense Fund and European TROPOMI instruments, have documented the massive methane plumes rising for miles into the atmosphere. These plumes are often 2 to 4 times higher than what these oil companies actually report to regulators. The night sky over West Texas now glows like a false metropolis that is visible from space, while right underneath it, the ground is being poisoned, probably forever. Now let's zoom all the way down to ground level where the human costs become impossible to ignore. This is the nightmare that the oil is good crowd never shows you when they're ranting on social media or giving interviews. Picture ranchers standing helplessly beside abandoned wells that are literally gushing toxic brine, crude oil, and chemicals straight onto the soil their families have worked for decades. Cattle dropping dead after drinking from contaminated stock tanks. Family water wells ruined, forcing people to haul drinking water from miles away, or they just simply walk away from land their grandparents used to homestead. As of the latest numbers in Texas alone, there are over 11,000 orphaned and abandoned wells, the highest total in nearly 20 years. The Permian counties are ground zero for this mess. Cleanup is already running into the hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars, and the companies that drilled most of these wells have either walked away or declared bankruptcy, leaving everyone else, you and me, to deal with the poison they left behind. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of active wells are actually pumping out 6.6 million barrels of oil every single day, roughly half of all the United States crude production. How do they get it? High volume, horizontal, hydraulic fracturing deep in shale formations. They pump millions upon millions of gallons of fresh water mixed with a toxic cocktail of chemicals and sand under extreme pressure to crack the rock below. And for every barrel of oil that comes up, operators produce 4 to 7 barrels of toxic wastewater full of salts, heavy metals, benzene, and who knows what else is in there. Most of that wastewater gets injected back underground, creating enormous pressure that does not stay put. This brings us to the earthquakes. Before the modern fracking and wastewater boom really took off between 2009 and 2015, Texas only saw a handful of small natural earthquakes per year. After the injection explosion, total chaos. 177 earthquakes recorded statewide in 2021. Now that jumped to 2,359 in 2023. And in 2025 alone, that number absolutely atomic explosioned into 9,238. The Delaware Basin and the Permian has been hit the hardest. They have had multiple magnitude 5 plus events that have cracked foundations, shook homes off their piers, and terrified families who never signed up for this. USGS and TexNet data leaves absolutely no doubt. The overwhelming majority of these quakes are human-induced by the massive volumes of wastewater being forced underground. So let me ask you this straight. They call a few solar panels on a warehouse roof bad for the land. This fracking stuff is permanent environmental hatred, and the scars that will still be leaking, shaking, and contaminating long after the last barrel is pumped and the last profits are taken are going to be there for years. Yet the same voices who lose their minds over one wind turbine on a distant ridge defend this industrial apocalypse as good, reliable American energy. The hypocrisy is not just nauseating, it is dangerous. And it is exactly why I'm doing this episode today. Now let's fly north to one of the biggest environmental crimes on the entire North American continent. Canada's Athabasca oil sands. Open pit mining and in situ stream extraction have taken a pristine boreal forest, wetlands, and the Athabasca River system and turned them into one of the largest industrial scars humanity has ever created. The tailings ponds alone, those giant lakes of toxic sludge holding billions of gallons of contaminated water, bitumen, and chemicals, are so enormous they are visible from the International Space Station. Look at this transformation. In 1984, satellite photos show nothing but thick, healthy forest and the natural flow of the river. But when you fast forward to 2011 and beyond, you see hundreds of square kilometers completely wiped out. The main Athabasca operation by itself has disturbed well over 250 square miles, with toxic ponds so poisonous that migrating ducks die the instant they land. The river downstream stays under constant threat of leaks and spills. The reclamation? Well, the companies keep promising it, but after decades, the moonscapes still look like moonscapes. Wildlife populations are poisoned. Rivers are at permanent risk. Entire ecosystems sacrificed for this tar. Yet the exact same fossil fuel cheerleaders who throw temper tantrums about solar panels on big box store rooftops or a wind turbine on a hill defend this as good, necessary energy that we cannot live without. Miles and miles of environmental hatred stretching across Canada's north, and they still have the nerve to point at renewables as the real threat to the planet. The double standard is insulting to anyone who actually looks at these pictures. Now let's bring some balance and reality into this. Contrast that nightmare with the actual footprint of renewables today. North America is home to over 144,000 operational wind turbines. The United States alone has more than 140 gigawatts of wind capacity, powering tens of millions of homes right now. Texas alone operates over 19,000 turbines. These machines spin quietly over existing farmland and grazing land. No permanent soil damage, no toxic wastewater, no induced earthquakes, just clean electricity generation. And solar is even more efficient in land use. Currently, the United States utility-scale solar farms cover roughly 1,800 square miles, smaller than Rhode Island, and less than 0.14% of America's total farmland. To generate 100% of America's entire electricity needs with today's modern solar, the math we walked through in detail just a couple of weeks ago shows it will take about an additional 5,800 square miles. That's a tiny fraction compared to the 86,000 square miles already industrialized in the Permian and the 500 square miles destroyed in the oil sands. Yet, these people scream land hogs at every single solar project. The hypocrisy meter is now pegged. Here is the absolute knockout punch that ends every one of their tired, old, silly arguments. We don't need any new land at all. The United States has well over 5,800 square miles of paved parking lots sitting empty across the country. Some estimates are that there are more than 13,500 square miles. This is sun-baked concrete doing nothing but creating heat islands. Like I said earlier in the previous video, France already mandates solar canopies on large parking lots. Why aren't we doing the same thing here in America? We only need an additional 5,800 square miles of solar capacity to meet 100% of the United States electrical demand. Hundreds of gigawatts of clean power. Zero new wilderness touched. And you also get free shade for the cars in the summer, built-in EV chargers, and strong local microgrids that make the whole system a lot more resilient than it is today. By paneling up the lots we've already paved, we get no earthquakes, no leaking brine wells, no dead cattle, no toxic ponds killing wildlife, just practical solutions on land we ruined long ago for parking cars. So the next time someone tells you solar and wind are bad while oil and coal are good, shove the satellite photos right in their face. Show them the 11,000 orphaned wells leaking across Texas. Show them the 9,000 plus earthquakes last year in Texas alone. Show them the oil sand moonscapes devastation. And then show them the endless parking lots that we can fix with solar panels today. The duplicity is over. Fossil fuels leave permanent environmental hatred. Renewables on already used land are the smart, clean, beautiful American future that we actually need. So tell me, what do you think? Drop your comments below. And then like, share, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And I hope to see you next time as we keep exposing the lies and building the truth. And I want to thank you for stopping by, and I will see you on the clean road to the future, or somewhere along that route from point A to point B. Use solar, use wind, and drive electric. See you all real soon.